It's 6 a.m., your phone is already buzzing with emails, your kid needs help finding school shoes, and you haven't even had coffee yet. By the time you sit down to plan your day, it is already 9 p.m. and you are too exhausted to think straight. I am Win, and for years I struggled with this exact problem, but here's what nobody tells you about planning as a working parent. Traditional planning advice is designed for people who actually have time to plan. And today I am sharing the ultra-efficient planning system I adapted that takes less than 5 minutes a day but will transform how you manage your chaos. So I learned this the hard way during my career where I was managing complex projects. I could coordinate million-dollar budgets, but I couldn't figure out how to manage my own family schedule without losing my mind. So the breakthrough came when I realized something crucial. When you are drowning in chaos, you need a life raft first, not a luxury yacht. This system is your life raft. It gets you stable and in control quickly once your life settles down, and then you can absolutely upgrade to more advanced planning methods. You gotta remember this. The goal is not to stay at this basic level forever. The goal is to get your head above water so you can eventually swim to shore. But there's a catch. Even when you know that you need to start simple, most parents still fail because they are missing the foundational principle that makes everything else work. You have to work with your chaos, not against it. And now here's the exact system that does exactly that. It's called the 5-minute parent planning protocol. It's based on 3 planning principles that I have adapted for real-life chaos back while I was still working in the government sector. The principle number 1 is capture, don't create. Your job is not to remember everything, but it's to capture everything in one trusted place. Here's how it works. You need exactly 1 notebook, not an app, not multiple planners, just one simple notebook that fits in your bag. Every morning before you check your phone, before you start the coffee, or before you start anything, you spend 2 minutes doing what I call a brain sweep. Write down everything that is swirling in your head. It could be pick up dry cleaning, call pediatrician, finish project proposal, buy birthday gift. Don't organize it, don't prioritize it. You just get it out from your brain onto the paper. And this step alone will definitely reduce your mental load by 70%. Now let's move on to principle number 2. It's called the 3-to-1 rule. Not everything is equally urgent. Your brain cannot hold 3 to 4 items in working memory. When you try to juggle 15 priorities, your brain literally shuts down, and this 3-to-1 system works with your brain's limitation and not against them. Let me explain further. The 3 means 3 things that must happen today and it's non-negotiable, and 2 things that should happen if possible, and 1 thing that would be nice if it happens. That's it. There is no overwhelming to-do list that has like 47 items that makes you feel like a failure. And the last principle is the evening intel brief. You never end a day without knowing what tomorrow looks like. For parents, this is a 3-minute evening routine that sets up tomorrow's success. Before bed, you answer these questions. What went well today? What's the biggest priority tomorrow? What can I prepare tonight to make tomorrow easier? It could be simple thing like laying out clothes for tomorrow's office day, prepping breakfast, or just knowing where everyone is going to be tomorrow. Let me tell you an embarrassing situation that happened to me while I was working. I showed up to a crucial meeting without the presentation I'd worked on for weeks. It was sitting on my kitchen counter right next to my daughter's homework. I forgot to put it back in my bag, so it was left there. Fortunately for me, I had a copy in my iCloud, but I had to completely rely on my memory for the facts when I was presenting that particular project. And that was my wake-up call, and I decided to do something about it, and that's when I discovered this 5-minute protocol. Once I started applying this, I noticed that I wasn't frantically searching for project files or realizing at 8 p.m. that I forgot to defrost my dinner. But here's what surprised me most. My stress levels dropped dramatically, not because I was doing more, but because I finally felt in control. Make sure that you pay attention to this because most people miss it. They try to make it perfect. You must understand this. Your handwriting will be messy. Your priorities will change. And some days you will forget entirely. And that's not failure, that is real life. So the key is consistency over perfection. I would rather you do this imperfectly every day than perfectly once a week. And here's the secret. The plan isn't what matters. It is the planning process that saves you. When you spend those 5 minutes each morning, you are not just organizing tasks. You are training your brain to think strategically instead of reactively. You are moving from crisis mode to control mode. I can already hear your biggest objection, which is, I don't even have 5 minutes. I get it. But here is the truth. You are already spending 20 to 30 minutes per day in mental chaos, trying to remember things, feeling overwhelmed, and making decisions on the fly. But this system will give you back that time and more. Alright, once you've mastered the basics, use these 3 advantage strategies that will take the system to the next level. Strategy 1 is the Sunday stack. You need to spend 15 minutes every Sunday doing what I call week level intelligence gathering. Look at everyone's schedules, identify potential conflicts, and batch similar tasks. This will prevent 80% of weekday surprises. Once I noticed that my daughter had a school project due the same week as my biggest work deadline. Instead of discovering this crisis on day before or one of the Tuesdays night, I moved some tasks around and we tackled the project together on Saturday and the crisis was averted. Next strategy is the delegation decision tree. So not everything on your list needs to be done by you. Create a simple system. Can my partner do this? Can my kids do this? Can I hire this out? Can I eliminate this entirely? You would be amazed how much falls off your plate once you start implementing this. For example, we have a weekly maid who cleans our house for about 6 hours, and that 6 hours I get back every week. Time that I use to spend stressed about some dust bunnies instead of playing with my daughter. My husband handles laundry. I handle folding. So we each do what we are naturally better at instead of both of us doing everything poorly. And last strategy is the energy map. You need to track when you have the most mental energy during the day. For most parents, it could be early morning before chaos hits. Schedule your most important task during your peak energy windows, not just when you have the time. Here's what I discovered when I started energy mapping. I realized that my brain was sharpest at about 7:30 in the morning when no one else was at work at the time. So instead of trying to tackle complex work projects at about 3 p.m. when I was mentally drained, I shifted my most challenging task to early morning. And the results, my productivity doubled and I actually had energy left for family time in the evenings. So here's what ties everything together. Each of these strategies builds on the last one, creating a foundation that grows with you as your life becomes more manageable. So let us recap what we have covered. The 5-minute planning protocol, using 3 tested principles, capture everything, use the 3-to-1 rule, and end each day with an intel brief. This isn't about becoming a perfect planner, but it's about reclaiming control over your chaos. When you implement the system, you will feel less overwhelmed, forget fewer important things, and actually have time for what matters most. Being present with your family instead of constantly stressed about what you are forgetting. And now here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, I want you to try just the 2 minutes brain sweep. Don't worry about the 3-to-1 system yet, and don't worry about the evening brief. Just do the brain sweep for 1 week. Set a timer, grab any notebook, and just dump everything in your head onto paper. That's it. If you're still struggling to find those pockets of time for planning, you need to watch the video right here about my 30-day experiment using a notebook where I got back over 17 hours per week just by changing one simple habit. Remember, you don't need more time to plan effectively, you just need a better system. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!